You made it, Rochelle. Well done. What's Fred, Torbjörn, the early birds? Hope everyone's well. If you have any preferences about one of the areas you'd like me to look at, please let me know because I'm wide open. It's exciting that the book's getting very close, and I had discussions yesterday, with Willie about the final cover design, and it's getting close. What's Daniel? Good to see you. Look, Torbjörn, you like my jacket? I got this in Norway. It's a beauty. Where's Harry? Marco, good to see you. Thanks for coming along, everyone. I'm just going to read through a couple of the sections, maybe two, maybe one. But, Urs Paddy, good to see you, man. And Urs Mike from Western Australia, finally the sun is out. Excuse me, they reckon it's going to rain here next week. We could do with it, I tell you, it's dry as. Urs Gaza, Daniel, Budi from Indonesia, good to see you. Look, there's a couple of sections I want to look at. I can't remember if I've read the section from the Black Belt, the Udansha section. The Udansha Realms, chapter 12. Let me know if I've read it, and I won't. I'll read on something else, but that's what I was going to look at today because there's sections in that I think are pretty pertinent. Also, there's another section up the front of the book that I really want to read. I've kind of been putting it off because I wanted to keep it, for the book itself, so that when you get the book, you can read that. So let me know if there's any particular section. Otherwise, I'm going to read the section from the Black Belt, Udansha area. Now, before I start, thank you, Patreon family. Everything you do allows me to do everything I do. So I really, really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. I think probably most of you are. Paul, good to see you from Germany. Thanks for coming. So if you're not subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to get to where that painting is in the picture because it's much better looking than me. Maybe if I move over here, there you go. How's that? But anyway, make sure you subscribe and hit the notifications. Share makes a big difference when you share the link, and also hit the like and leave a comment later when you come back to it. I know you can't leave a comment immediately because it doesn't set up until it doesn't allow comments for, maybe 24 hours or so. But anyway, look, make sure you do that. And don't forget, this session is going to be a little shorter than normal, maybe 45, 50 minutes, because from 4 o'clock, Shihan Hanshi, I call him Senpai because he is my Senpai by a year or two, and he's a fantastic fellow as well. But Hanshi Daigo Oishi is doing a live stream, which I think is very fantastic. Not only does it do the live stream, what I think is cool about it is that he does it all himself, which I think, he turned 70. He turned 70 on Wednesday, and cross my heart, he moves like a 40-year-old, and I'm not just exaggerating. So there's the details. I'll send that again because I got a little bit confused. There's the meeting ID and the password for the meeting ID. So go to Zoom. If you haven't got Zoom, download it. But I think it'll be fantastic. Now he's a very traditional guy. He really does focus on Kihon basics and so on. And if you're the sort of person who gets a little bit bored with basics, well, then by all means you should tune in because he zeroes in on little things in basics that the average person misses. And I've been really, last month I had a fantastic, a big translation job where Oishi Shihan's just created a series of online videos and making them available for an online membership website. And I did the subtitles for them. And boy, oh boy, that was just, really interesting information. Also, Alan, Ketsi, good to see you. That card you did, Ketsi, is really good, but I know what you mean. I see your point. But isn't that good having video, though? So you have the video and you can go, all right, someone can tell you till they're blue in the face, but once you see yourself once in video, you get it straight away. So well done, Ketsi. Ketsi's off training by himself in China, where he works and lives, and he's sending videos over. So my Patreon family, any Patreon family, if you have a video of you doing any technique or any kata, please video it and send it straight off to me, and I'll give you feedback on it almost straight away. That's just for my Patreon family. I'd love to do it for everyone, but I can't. My own students and my Patreon. If you're not a Patreon family, get in there. And I keep putting it off because the book is taking precedence to everything I do at the moment. But the Patreon family is going to get a whole bunch of stuff for that. Yeah, it'll be really good, Rochelle. If you can, that'd be great. Okay, let me get on with the reading, but please let me know straight away if I have covered this section. I got a sneaking suspicion that I may have previously, but this is the section on the black belts. The step from brown belt to black belt is one of the most important in the life of the karateka. Up to and including brown belt, the various requirements of the colored belts still affect the student and are in need of constant work. I'm editing as I go. To what end? The coveted black belt is the common goal of all karateka, yet its demands are substantial, and many who once aspired to it meekly settle for lesser levels, not willing to face the demanding requirements of Yudansha. Yeah, and there's some good clubs in Norway too, Rochelle. You won't miss it. See if you can get a tenure at the University of Tromsø. And at night time, you can sit on the balcony, glassed in, heated, and look at the northern lights. Let me continue. From first Dan black belt onwards, these requirements should be second nature. Training is now essentially fine-tuning. Research into the techniques and attitudes of the masters, past and present, help the junior black belt with such refinements. One of the biggest things I find as a teacher, and I'm sure you'll agree, is re-educating black belts whose foundations were wrong. There's never any minimization of the fact that they trained hard over the years. It's more about New Zealand suicide. I know, and that's a really interesting thing. Why do people stop at brown belt? I find they stop at, first of all, they stop at yellow belt, and then it's common to stop at brown belt, and then they stop at Shodan. And I think one of the reasons they stop at brown belt is because, like Peter Urban said in the Karate Dojo, that the student becomes a black belt unwittingly, for he may never be the same again, if my memory serves me well. So it's a good question. But the big thing that I notice is that if the student's foundation skills haven't been set properly, when they get to black belt, it presents all kinds of problems, because you've got to actually go back and relearn anything that you do. And that can be really not just intimidating, but really, really depressing, to actually think that you've been training all these years drilling the wrong thing. Remember the old saying, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So you've got to get it right. And this is what I'm talking about here. As we have seen, at its purest, black, like white, occurs rarely in nature and is often not regarded as a color as such. For many reasons, though, black is closely related to the deep blue of the fifth spinal center, the Vishuddha chakra, whose element is the void. Now, remember, I've related all these colors to the different yoga concepts of these spinal centers, which provide psychological, physical attributes and so on to everyone. This deep blue is the color of spirit. It is the color that represents the realms beyond the physical, and so in itself is not attainable in the colored belt ranks. If one adds more blue to the mix of colors that makes brown, that is to say, if one concentrates on a perfect balance between body, mind, and spirit in karate, the color produced is a very dark gray, the closest to black that is possible from the colors of the spectrum. Thus, black belt is the nearest representative of spirit for the karateka. It is the colorless color, the color which takes in all colors. If exposed to strong sunlight, a black surface will absorb light waves so completely that it soon becomes too hot to touch. This becomes the motto of the new black belt, too hot to touch. His training reflects this attitude. Of course, Clarence from South Africa, thanks for coming along. Black is the color of strength. Again, using the analogy of the painter and his colors, black is too strongly pigmented to be covered easily by another color. The black belt is the strongest of all karateka, and no colored belt can cover him. Nevertheless, arrival at Shodan, literally the beginning level, is a new start to the journey, not the end. So there is no room to entertain pride and egotism. How foolish to think that one has it all at Shodan, or at any Dan for that matter. The scary thing these days, by the way, Leo, good to see you. Us, greetings from Australia to Colombia. Thanks for coming along. The scary thing these days is even when you talk about Shodan or Nidan, or, you have people with this really strange attitude that when you get even brown belt, it's happening. You can not only demand what your next rank is, but what you have is people actually falsifying the ranks. And you have first dans and second. I was looking the other day, there was a guy online who was very proudly displaying his 7th dan certificate. And I read the Japanese, and the Japanese actually said first dan certificate. So here's this guy who's got a first dan certificate, and he's very, very carefully doctored the rank on the English side and changed it to 7th dan. It's just mind-blowing. And it's got to the point where I'm over it. I just, it's having a big effect on me and my approach to my students too. And these days, if my students want a grade, it's almost like they have to ask me, because, unless they're really, really exceptional, I don't even offer them to go for the grade anymore. It's just out of control. The realm of black belt has 10 levels. Like the 10 steps of the colored belts, each one has its own significance. If the Yudansha, that means a black belt, continues to train tirelessly into the later years of life, like the symbol of the white belt that gradually becomes black, his black belt slowly fades, becomes frayed at the edges, and turns somewhat white again. Thus, the circle is symbolically complete. The master becomes a student once more. The whole process may then be repeated, only in realms that go beyond mere technique, beyond the fluctuations of the mind, beyond the understanding of the average person. Such is the realm of the Yudansha. That's the black belt. This next section, introspection. I'm just trying to get my clock here, because if I don't, I know I'm going to go over time and jeopardize everyone being able to get along and watch Punchy. Introspection. This is from Soul Size Mottos. In the martial arts, introspection begets wisdom. Always see contemplation on your actions as an opportunity to improve. The art of honest introspection is a new weapon of the beginner black belt. Take note of the trends of your thoughts. Analyze your mind to see if your thinking is that of a black belt or a beginner. Take particular note of the predominant thoughts in your mind throughout the day. Actually, that little bit there, is your thinking a black belt or a beginner? That really determines everything. And this is why when you have Shodans faking 7th dans, or anyone at any rank who look for shortcuts, maybe they've been training and they've deserved to get their Shodan, and then they want to go for their Nidan, but they feel intimidated by the strong fighters in the dojo or something like that. So they look for every way possible to get around what they have to do. But the fact of the matter is, if they analyze their mind to see if their thinking was that of a black belt or a white belt, then it would make so much more sense, because that really is the only thing that counts. And this is why sometimes people get confused when a teacher grades someone who may seemingly not be as technically proficient as someone else, but they really have their head together. And they go, well, you know, I do my kata better than him. Well, by even thinking that, it shows that your mind isn't in the black belt mind, if you get my drift. Going on now. Take particular note of the predominant thoughts in your mind throughout the day. If they are incompatible with the consciousness of a black belt, then make efforts to change them. The art is aimed at polishing the soul, not merely technique. Daily introspection takes only a few minutes. Each night, review how you acted that day. Did you bring some kindness, some light into someone's life without expecting anything in return? Did you react, think, talk like a mature karateka, a warrior? If not, why? That business, going back there, did you bring some kindness into someone's life without expecting anything in return? That what do they call that? That's you know, where people do things just for the sake of being seen to be doing it. There's a virtue signaling, I think they call it, virtue signaling. And that's the most, well, one, it's really sad because from a karmic viewpoint, you undo all the good karma that you've just done. So the best way to do anything for anyone is just do it quietly without expectation of thanks. You know, that's really the way to do it. Were you able to contain the emotional reactions to life's inevitable fluctuations? Each day is full of opportunities to prove to yourself how much work still needs to be done. Be gracious about it. You can fool others, but with the scalpel of honest introspection, you can never fool yourself. Note what you see and act accordingly. Introspection brings wisdom only when it is acted upon. Take negative traits one at a time and work on them. Throughout the day, keep an image in your mind of someone whom you respect and admire. Keep that image in your heart. It could be anyone. Your own father, your own mother, Christ for the Christian, Buddha for the Buddhist. It could be a great warrior of the past, India's Arjuna or Japan's Musashi, or our own Sosai Mas Oyama. Let me just make a note there. It could be someone you know personally and respect greatly. When faced with decisions, ask yourself how that person would behave. What would they say or do in the same circumstances? How would a true master of karate react to this and that event in life? The mind of the warrior is calm. Hei Joshin. Remain calm and unruffled no matter what the agitation, and you will not find yourself succumbing to inappropriate behavior. If you feel that it is beyond you yet, take steps to rein in your emotional reactions so that in time you remain unaffected by any provocation. Of course, too much focus on the belt, a piece of cloth that keeps your jacket close. Promotion of my dojo comes after I witness progress. Yeah, look, I'm really glad you can do that, and I wish I could. And to a point, I do that, Mike. I think what's happening amongst my group of dojos now is it's almost like people will approach me. The senior instructors will approach me and recommend someone because quite literally I'll just, I'm looking for different things, I think. Rod, Us, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Dave Avola, nice to see you, man. Hope you're well. Thanks for coming. So anyway, take steps to rein in your emotional reactions so that in time you remain unaffected by any provocation. And then I quoted Yogananda, a true yogi stands unshaken amidst the crash of falling worlds. That's a beautiful saying. A true yogi stands unshaken amidst the crash of falling worlds. You could make that a true karateka stands unshaken amidst the crash of falling worlds. That's how closely the paths follow. And I've got another section. If I have time later, I'll read it, which that just reminded me of. At times when you're under pressure and feel the loss of poise and frustration rising, take a deep breath and hold it for a second or two. Then breathe out with a soft, almost silent ibuki breath. even with your mouth closed. Bring the awareness to the hara. When I say a ibuki breath with your mouth closed, we've gone through that in the training sessions. That's like the yoga ujjayi breathing. So it's like you do the ibuki, but you close your mouth. So when you breathe in, you're trying to get your mind under control because some idiot's just done something that's provoking you. Just take the breath, hold it for a couple of seconds, and then breathe it out like you're doing ibuki with your mouth closed. With your mind at your hara has a profound effect on calming the mind down. Bring the awareness to the hara. Here too, visualize someone you respect and honor and let that thought inspire you to make the changes that count. The perfect attitude of the warrior is universally one with the perfect attitude of the Christian, Buddhist, or yogi. In training, introspection clearly reveals your many weaknesses. Analyze why your opponent scored, then make the effort to remove that weakness from your defense. Likewise, when you fail to score a particular technique, analyze why and train accordingly to resolve the issue. This is using self-reflection to advance your skills quickly. The period of meditation following training is an excellent time to reflect on your performance. Nothing is concealed from the mirror of introspection. It can be a very ego-destroying and unflattering lesson. So you think you are good at karate? Analyze your attitude honestly for just one training session. Did you remain fully focused, or did the mind drift? How well did you concentrate? Were there elements of uncertainty? Even a little reflection will reveal how often we tend to float through the Shihan with less than optimal effort. You alone are responsible for your training. Take ownership today through the power of introspection. As a black belt, remain aware of your shortcomings at any time. The Shodan is not a master yet, but if he refuses to give up, one day his consistency will be rewarded. What is the difference between the white belt and the black belt, the beginner and the master? A black belt is a white belt who never gave up. You know, that's become really quite common now, and I've mentioned before, it's one of those quotes that I really wish that I made a point of copywriting, because I first said it back in '87, and I guarantee it's everywhere now. But usually you see it: a black belt is a white belt who never gave up. Elio Gracie, a black belt is a white belt who never gave up. Kimura Masahiko, a black belt is a white. People just quote it and they put their own name or anything underneath it, which is flattering. But gee, I wish I did own copyright for that. Then I could be making a fortune selling little framed pictures of a black belt as a white belt in markets on the weekend. Anyway, I don't think I'd make much do that. A master is the beginner who never gave up in his efforts to improve. Continuous efforts bring surprising rewards. Have faith in your potential, but be honest with your self-assessment. Know where you are, where you are going, and how you'll get there. Then work to close that gap. One reaching black belt should be thoroughly familiar with every aspect of the art. Gradings for the different black belt levels are years apart. In the absence of the quarterly or half-yearly gradings, the Udansha must develop suitable ways to prioritize and continually improve the important aspects of training. These aspects are conditioning, speed, strength, endurance, flexibility, and body hardening. Shihan, including Ido Shihan and footwork. Kata, including Oyo or applications. And Bunkai, the breakdown and working on it. Seishin Ryoku, willpower and attitude. And Kumite, Sambon, Ippon, Jiu, and Jisen. One method to get the most out of training is to use a similar training plan to the quarterly grading system of the early Q grades. The black belt is a return to beginner's mind. Such a return to the spirit of the beginner should be adopted enthusiastically. It is the key to growth. Besides daily attention being given to all 5 aspects of training, the Udansha can establish a pattern of quarterly focus in his training. For example, whilst maintaining his conditioning training throughout the entire year. For 3 months, attention is given to refinement of some movement principle or certain points of the Shihan. That can be followed by 3 months focused on perfecting 1 or 2 kata, a natural carryover from the previous concentration on Shihan. Can you see where the logbook can really come in handy here? Because you have maps in the logbook. It gives you maps that you can create long-term and short-term plans, and you map that out and you can work on them step by step. It really makes a big difference. This reminds me when you said at the end of each training session, we should contemplate what we did well, what we did wrong, and then what we need to, that's so true. The 3 magic questions, we call them in the dojo. What did I do well? What did I do wrong? And what am I going to do about that? Okay, and the reason I put what did I do well first is sometimes you can have an overwhelming session where you just feel you had 2 left feet and nothing went right, especially if the dojo's got a lot of strong guys in it and you just got smashed. But you have to recognize that even with that, there were things that you did well. And I guarantee you'll find just as many things that you did well as you will just as many things as you didn't do well. So that's really important to remember. You ask all 3 questions. The first one you ask is, what did I do well? Just to put you in the right mindset. Then, what did I not do well? And then, what am I going to do about that? It's a good point. New Zealand suicide. Just remind me who you are. I'll remember. But just let me know who you are if you want to. You don't have to. Some people use a pseudonym on purpose. Then the Yudansha shifts